I think like an inner struggle for many people is like worse than the outer struggle. The video title is Why Ghibli's Male Characters Feel Real and Disney's Not. And it's from a smaller channel. He's called Miguel Munuera. I'm sorry if I pronounce it wrong. Because I love Disney movies and I love Ghibli movies. And I want to know, and I want to do I want to learn a little bit about storytelling. So if he can point out what is a good storytelling about the Ghibli males and the Disney males, it would be very interesting to know. It's not that long. It's like 40 minutes. We will see. Time to learn. Yeah, let's see what it is about. I think it will mainly go on just like quality, not quality. It will go like personality and how they behave and how they are written. Because in my opinion, like Disney male characters are very straightforward. They're just casually what the Western society sees as a man, like not crying, strong, loud, whatever. It's a Sigma like me, right? A Sigma like me. And Ghibli characters have a lot of more depth to it. They're way different. If you don't know Ghibli movies so far, we can also watch them on Discord. But they're very, very different. Getting the bottle ready. Shut. All right, let's just see what it is about. I hope it will be loud enough. Let me just adjust a little bit. So let's see.
Disney's male characters consist of champions, gods, and heroes of all types. While Ghibli's are, well, just people. But which is truly more memorable, and what does that say about masculinity and storytelling? Let's break it down, and trust me, the reason for these differences isn't just about culture. Good. It's something that's going to completely change the way you see both studios. Let's be real. Disney's male protagonists are some of the most iconic in all of animation. But they usually...
I mean, that is true. Like, every single one of them is unique in their own. That's why I was so curious what he has to say about them, because they're written in a unique way. But I guess there's something that we don't know yet. So it would be very nice to get a new perspective on it.
Usually fall into a few concrete Disney archetypes. Take Aladdin, for example. He's the quintessential Disney adventurous hero. Bold, charming, and out to prove himself. He's driven by a desire to escape his circumstances and be seen as more than just a street rat.
When was Aladdin released? Wasn't it in like 2000 something? Feels like eternity. They've been around for a while too. They do be unique, also very much the same as well. Yeah, that is like the guess that I have too, but yeah, we will see. Aladdin was so much fun. It is. I really like the songs. The songs
are
not
very
good.
And charm to get through tough spots, but much of his arc centers on self-worth. His romance with Jasmine is obviously very important, but his internal struggle to believe he's worthy of love and success grounds his character in something actually super relatable, which can't be said for all Disney male characters. Or take Simba, another adventurous hero. As a child, he's brash and eager to embrace his future as king, but then the biggest betrayal in all of human history happens, animal history I guess, which leaves him shattered, obviously. His internal conflict of running from his guilt versus stepping into his destiny is layered over the external battle to reclaim his kingdom. Simba's arc is amazing.
Simba, I could relate to Simba a lot, like, and also to Aladdin. I don't know, they are all relatable at some point. They all have something that you can like see a little bit in yourself, which makes them good characters, I think. So even though they're very unique and outstanding, they still have something where you're like, oh yeah, like my dad passed away. I'm like grieving still. I don't know what to do with myself. And then it just gives a good example, like what could happen. Zimbabwe just became a lazy ass. But he got his ass back up, which is great. And then he showed himself too that he is more capable than he ever thought about himself. I always forget that so many Disney movies are older than me. You would be surprised. Ghibli movies are also old. They're hag of the hag.
Amazing because it's both deeply personal and universally resonant, but at its core, it's just
It's
a
so
familiar
cute.
story of
Baby
reclaiming a
Simba.
rightful place. And then there are the lovable underdogs like Cusco, who starts as entirely unlikable.
This is I don't even know when I saw this. Is this like 20 years ago? This is like 20 years ago or something when I saw it the first time. That was hilarious. Hilarious movie.
Self-absorbed, egotistical, and oblivious to the consequences of his actions.
Let me guess, you have a great personality.
His transformation into a humble, self-aware leader
Wow.
is the heart of the film. But what makes him unique is that the humor drives much of his growth. The story uses his flaws as a source of comedy while still giving him a meaningful arc. Then there's the underrated king, Jim Hawkins, who's an underdog trying to find.
Okay, who doesn't know what that movie is? Raise your hand. Who doesn't know? Who needs to be educated? Who needs to be educated about this movie? Because it's a shame if you don't. Love this one? Yeah, me too. Raising hand. This is my favorite. Lush knows it. Ooh, surprising. Very surprising. Popple, you should watch that with your son. He will love it. So this is a very, very old classic. It's called Treasure Island. I have the book. I will read it out for Discord. It is old. It is.
And his place in the world. Initially a rebellious and misunderstood teenager, the adventure he embarks on pushes him to grow and mature. His arc focuses
very
on
cool.
earning respect, learning to trust others, and discovering his own potential, making him both relatable and inspiring despite his rough exterior. He could also fit into the adventurous hero bucket, but yeah. And of course, we have a Disney classic, the romantic supports, like Prince Eric or Flynn Rider. They basically exist to complement the girl's story, but with their own unique flair and charm. Prince Eric, while not really that complex at all, is still kind-hearted and
What a frame. I have to admit, I completely forgot that Prince Eric exists. Like, I know Ariel is so into him and everything, but I didn't even know that he looked like that. It's been a while that I watched it, and I don't even remember that he looks like every frame a painting. Yep. It's just hilarious. How is this 4 years older than me? I only watched him when I was 6. Pretty much same. I know there was a dude. Yeah, I think I completely forgot about. I mean, that is his kind of purpose thing. But on the other hand, for example, when the other example will show up with Tangled, the new Tangled movie, or new, you know, the one that is over 10 years old already too. I do remember the guy. I do remember him. But not him.
Flynn, on the other hand,
Flynn
is way more dynamic.
Yeah,
Initially being
maybe
this
that's why I
cocky
remember him.
douche, his relationship with Rapunzel
cocky
actually
douche.
changes him to show vulnerability and let go of his facade. Flynn's arc is one of my favorites because of its humor, emotional
cried so
payoff, and
much,
the
man.
fact that he even has an arc, which isn't really the case for Prince Eric and a lot of other princes. Spoiler. Flynn is also a testament to the evolution of some of Disney's character archetypes.
Let me see. Prince Charming. In which movie is he again? Prince Philip. Based on the outfit, I think it was the sleeping one, the sleeping princess. Yeah, Li Shang Mulan. Yeah, that was a good guy, but he was very, very. Who's this? Who's Naveen? I don't even know who that is. Is that a movie that I don't know yet? Sleeping Beauty, thank you. I don't know who Naveen is. Who's Naveen? But yeah, Flynn was really, really cool. And I also loved the people in the tavern that where Flynn hang out a lot. They were also very cool. I really love the song with the I Had a Dream. It's lovely.
archetypes over time. We then also have the noble figure, like Mufasa. These are the
Yeah.
straight-laced characters which are often more reserved, naturally good and virtuous, and basically serve to contrast with the more flawed or adventurous protagonist. Finally, there's the comedic sidekick, my personal favorite of Disney's archetypes, embodied by characters like Mushu and Timon and Pumbaa. These are low-key the best, making us all laugh more than we should. And while they may assist
Genie
the
is so
protagonist in their
cool.
journey, their arcs are rarely as significant. They
Charming.
exist mainly to provide comic
know.
relief, but they can also have moments where they deliver valuable lessons or help move the story along,
Things work out.
which is so worth it. Oh, and shout out to the romantic support light characters, all those princes from the OG classics that had the personalities of
Yeah, I remember him. I didn't even know that Snow White had a prince. He is so... I mean, yeah, he was needed so he can wake up. She can wake up, but... It's like, I don't even remember them anymore.
that had the personalities of cardboard.
Yeah,
Anyway,
that's
there
why
are
I don't
definitely
remember.
exceptions like Quasimodo, who we'll talk about later, but they're few
He
and
had a
far
lot of depth.
between, and that's because these archetypes usually serve Disney's storytelling goals well. They're relatable, easy to root for, and fit into the larger escapist fantasies the studio aims to create. But
Yeah.
the limitations are pretty clear too. Most of these characters are designed to be larger than life and are usually super predictable since they usually stick to external arcs of heroism or romance.
Yeah.
And speaking of characters that leave a lasting impression, don't worry, this isn't an ad read, I'm not big enough for that yet. But I've been wanting to actually watch all of the amazing shows and movies I've gotten suggested over the past year by you guys, so I started a Patreon for it. We'll get to explore even more of the storytelling.
Oh yeah, that's the name of the
magic we love to talk
guy,
about here,
Miguel.
but together this time.
That's
And I'll also
Miguel.
be sharing
Everybody
a
say
ton of
hi.
behind the scenes content on how I make these videos and even give you guys influence on what I make them about. If that sounds like your thing, check out the link in the description. It's 40% off if you sign up this week, and don't forget to drop your reaction suggestions
Aw,
in the comments.
Bubble.
So for Ghibli, it's normally quite the opposite.
Okay, so we had the Disney characters now. And Miguel was so nice and put them into little boxes for us. So we have like those cardboard figures. We have the heroes. We have the funny people. But like he said, they're all very, very streamlined, basically. And now I'm curious what you were gonna say about the Ghibli characters. I'm really, really curious because like what we learned from Disney, streamlined, like has a specific role. I'm gonna ride with it.
Than Disney. They don't feel bound by archetypes. They're more nuanced, sometimes conflicted, and often operate in the background to support a larger, more complex narrative. But is one approach inherently better than the other? I'll get to that. Ashitaka is a great example of what I'm talking
He's so
about.
cool.
He doesn't see
Okay, guys, I have to admit, the wizard and Alistair are not my only crushes. Okay. The wizard and Alistair are not the only one. Maybe Ashitaka is one of them. We not talk about the wizard.
seem like a movie character on the screen to serve some narrative purpose. As we see him travel
just
from
cool.
his clan, the Amishi village,
He's
to
just
the west,
cool.
we see him walking, riding, trading, and meeting people,
Hi,
resting
Spurry.
after a long day. It's kind of like a vlog, like very
Yeah.
real and raw. There's no performative nature to his character. He's reserved and pensive. His journey throughout the movie also isn't about like winning a princess's heart. It's about finding a balance between human progress and nature's preservation.
Yeah, he was very into the whole thing of like humans want to move on with the technology and everything, and he understood that because he visited them in a town, and he also helped them in the factory with the furnace. That was very funny. It's like, no, it's a Gundam. It's not Gundam. It's an anime character. But he also spent time with San and her wolf family, and also like learning what the forest is about and what nature is about, and also visiting the boar god kinda until he died. So he was like, he tried to find a diplomatic way both can coexist, and that was kind of his journey and his purpose. He was very, very into it, and he sacrificed himself because he could just stay in his village and die from the curse that he had, but he wanted to to lift it off. So that was the initial process of going somewhere, and then he saw that there's so much conflict, and then he was thinking, what could we do about it? And he visited both sides and then found somewhat a solution or like a compromise and helped both parties to get their thing together. Mm-hmm. You can, Papa, if it's a good video, you can suggest it in the Discord and I can look at it. Yeah, he absolutely fought to try to understand. And I think this is also one thing that inspired me, because it's one of my very first Ghibli movies. I'm always like trying to understand what people mean and how they see the world, because I see it differently and another person sees it differently. And we kind of have to work together, right? Otherwise the world would just collapse in chaos. So finding understanding, very important. That's why what I really like about Ashitaka. That he tried to be diplomatic instead of just, I am the strong man, I say what you should do.
Super selfless, driven by compassion, and driven to solve problems without needing to be a hero in the traditional sense for the most part. And then there's Haku. While he doesn't steal the spotlight in the same way as some Disney heroes, Haku plays a crucial role in Chihiro's development. His story is one of self-discovery and connection, helping Chihiro find her inner strength while also grappling with his own identity issues. Haku isn't the protagonist, but his presence is so important in Chihiro's development, reflecting Ghibli's tendency to highlight subtle yet profound relationships. Even Seiji, a relatively minor character, stands out. His quiet determination to pursue his dreams despite the practical challenges he faces acts as both a source of inspiration and a counterbalance to Shizuku's own personal growth. Seiji doesn't engage in grand adventures or...
This is all from a Japanese studio called Ghibli, and they're all made in Japan. They're also very old, most of them. And they just have a very, very different way of telling a story, but in a beautiful way. Well, I've seen Spirited Away. I haven't seen much of the others. Oh, well. The list of things we have to watch is just growing now.
feats of heroism, but his persistence and focus on his craft provide Shizuku with the emotional and psychological support she needs to also find her own path. As with Ashitaka and Haku,
very inspiring.
He quietly pushes others towards growth without ever...
They didn't have, I mean, Ashitaka had a big part in Princess Mononoke, but like Haku and the violin guy, they didn't have like, they had a huge impact, even though they were not technically a main protagonist. But they were so deep with the little time they've been on the screen that they contributed a lot. And they also were like, even though they had their struggles, they still were inspiring in how the main protagonists in the movie overcame their struggles. And then helped them on the other hand as well. For example, like Chihiro with Haku, that she helped him too. yeah, they needed the guy to guide the main protagonist, very, very. But they still, I don't know, they didn't do it in a streamlined way. It was also very subtle or like subtle. Oh yeah, then you should maybe watch them, Ryan. They're really, really good. Or we watch them over time on Discord as well. I wouldn't mind that. I still need to watch the Firefly movie, and I'm so scared because I know I would just cry the entire time.
For dominating the narrative at all, and that's what I love about all of them. And then there's everyone's favorite drama queen.
The drama queen,
the
Howl!
Bold heroes of animation, Howl is just a self-absorbed vain guy.
I just love this frame. Wait a minute. He's just a little guy. little guy, my dudes. He's like, he's the Calcifer is the perfect character in this one. Howl is like, I don't know, man. He is like two different people in one body. He's very conflicted in himself. And then after meeting Sophie, he kind of he's like, Howl is one hell of a weirdo. Never understood. So how I understood, it's one of my favorite movies. The Howl's Moving Castle is one of my favorites. Yeah, Howl is the name. Yeah, it's his name. So for me, before we watch, for me, Howl is like very conflicted in himself because he's very, very capable. He's smart. Hello, Audie. Huh? Why? Hello? What is venerable? Noisy Kaye is such a good movie, but we focus on male people this time. There's also a female version of this video because we can watch it in the next few days. Ma, thank you. How are you doing today, Audie? So, Howl for me is, he's very conflicted in himself. He's very smart. He's powerful. He's capable. But on the other hand, look at him. He's just a little guy wanting to hide in his castle. Thank you, Zolti. He wants to hide. He wants comfort, which is fine. And he's hiding behind his appearance. He's like doing so much work to look a certain way, to be like very, very nicely dressed, have nice hair, nice accessories, like very, very put together. But in his castle, before Sophie entered, his castle looked completely terrible. Do we have any footage of the castle in the video? No, we don't have. So, he is seeking for order, but he's very conflicted in himself. And you can see it in his castle because the castle was a freaking mess. It was messy. It was dirty. He had this little boy and they didn't even have proper plates or anything that was clean. And usually when your place is messy, something is going on with yourself that you are not, I would not say that you're mentally ill or something, but something is like so pressing on you that you can't keep up with the normal daily stuff. So it gets clutty. And he was perfectly that. Sorry, Reckon. So usually when someone's place is very, very messy, they either mostly have either too much stress or too much pressure mentally to keep it up to date. Thank you, Odi. Thank you for the lurky. Have a lovely day. And before Sophie entered, his castle was an absolute mess. Then Sophie entered, cleaned it up, and then slowly revealed his true personality. And he was just a little guy. He is still the big wizard, but he's just a little guy who wants comfort, who wants protection. Does that count? Maybe something is going on. Or they're too stressed because daily life. Could be. But yeah, this is how I see Howl. He gets great character development, like with Sophie together. Then they just become one main character technically, even though Sophie is actually the driven main protagonist here.
Howl is just a self-absorbed, vain guy, but his true character arc is one of surprisingly insane transformation. He is, yeah, both emotionally.
And he also, this is his bedroom. He is so scared from like enemies and the Witch of the Wasteland and everything that he needs like a freaking ton of accessories and magical charms to protect him and to hide. So he's actually very, very scared of of the world outside, technically. No, that's, I mean, yeah, Howl is also very, very cool, but it's not the wizard that we meant earlier.
And psychologically, Howl's journey isn't about saving the world, well,
no,
maybe a bit, but about confronting his own fears, accepting vulnerability, and learning to care for others. His self-centeredness is a facade, hiding a deeper insecurity and a
that's
fear
what
of
I
loss
said.
that Sophie uncovers
No?
as the movie progresses. As he opens up, his inner strength emerges, but it's not through conventional heroism, although he does do a bit of that. Instead, Hal's growth comes from understanding his own limitations and learning to face the consequences of his actions, especially in his relationship with Sophie. This makes him a way more complex character than the traditional hero because his main battle is with himself.
Yeah.
What makes Ghibli's
See?
male
That's what I
characters
said.
so compelling
Just
is that they're rarely the
Miguel
center of
just
the
said it
story.
prettier.
Unlike Disney's heroes, Ghibli's main characters often
Yeah, Hal's original hair color is black, but he colored it blonde.
act as supports to the larger narrative or to the female protagonists. Their arcs
La
usually
Puta is
focus
also a
on
great
inner
movie.
growth
My
rather than
God.
external achievement or recognition. They're not simply striving to win a battle or gain the spotlight, although of course that is usually part of it too. They are instead often defined by their ability to listen, reflect, grow from their experiences, and help
Yep.
their friend or lover in their story. This perfectly aligns with Ghibli's storytelling priorities: balance, emotional depth, and the beauty of everyday humanity. These characters embody the idea that true strength comes not from conquering enemies or achieving grand goals, but from understanding and evolving as individuals, often in the service
Yeah, this is the
of
Firefly
others.
one.
The
People
subtlety
cry.
and complexity are what make Ghibli's male characters so unforgettable. Even if they're not always the ones who take center stage, it goes to show how different masculinity can be portrayed in film. But I'll
Yeah.
talk more about that in a sec. Of course, Disney has tried to break away from its
I love this Robin Hood. One of my favorite things. I still have in my memory box. I still have a music. How do you say cassette? A music cassette, like a little rectangle thing, and you put it into a player, and then it plays like an audiobook. I still have it from the Robin Hood story, from like a short story as a side thing. I still have it and I treasure it because I loved it so much.
male protagonist archetypes in recent years. Take Ralph, whose journey is all about self-acceptance and emotional growth, or Quasimodo, a rare Disney character that doesn't really fit into any category.
That is
Being
true.
deeply sympathetic,
Quasimodo was so
isolated by his
special.
appearance, but yearning for acceptance and connection. His arc doesn't really follow the typical hero's
Like food,
journey or romantic subplot at all. It's all about personal growth instead, finding
Yeah.
the courage to stand up for himself and others. What sets Quasimodo apart even more is the
This is a
utter
really good movie,
sadness
Reagan.
of his story. He doesn't get the girl at the end, and his heroism doesn't lead to some fairy tale ending, but his journey feels honest and actually human and realistic. But the key question is, what's the difference between Disney's
Hatchlings,
archetypes
I'm
and
here to
Ghibli's
inform you that
nuance,
there
and
are
is
some
one
ads coming up
inherently
soon.
better than the other? I mean, we
Okay, before we do that, before the ads, we will let the ads run. Metro, can you push them? Hello, Chad. Wait, Hunchback doesn't get the girl. No, Quasimodo doesn't get the girl. Let's continue watching. So far we had the Disney characters explained and the Ghibli characters a bit explained, like what's driving them, what the role in the movie is, and now I'm curious how you will sum that up. How you will sum that up.
human and realistic. But the key question is, what's the difference
Yeah.
between Disney's archetypes and Ghibli's nuance, and is one inherently better than the other? I mean, we all know that Disney's male protagonists tend to be larger than life figures, designed to fit into some obvious molds. They're entertaining, iconic, and super easy to love, but they're rarely
soon,
gonna
Para.
surprise us. They also will usually get the girl at the end. Ghibli, on the other hand, like I said, focuses on creating male characters who feel like real people. They're often flawed, emotionally vulnerable, and guided by their relationships rather than individual goals. They're also usually not front and center, rather being support characters to the strong and driven female protagonists. Let's go, I love that. And their
They also mostly never go for, or like not many times, go for the girl. They go for the journey, kind of go for the surroundings, the society, the what's happening around them, and being aware of that, and trying to be someone that improves the situation that they're in, I would say.
Relationship with said female protagonist doesn't always end in romantic relationships. It's more nuanced than that, you know, like Haku and Chihiro, San and Ashitaka, Pazu and Shita, Haru and the Baron. Yes, there are some romantic undertones with some of these, but it doesn't end in like a fairy tale wedding, you know what I mean? And of course, Ghibli does have romance stories, but they tend to be a tad more complex than Disney's. The thing is though, both approaches have their place.
Yeah.
Not everyone's always looking for deep, complex characters. Sometimes you want to turn your brain off and watch Hercules save the day, or watch Tarzan leap around the forest with Jane. It's fun to watch these movies, and that's what Disney has kind of mastered, the element of enjoyment and excitement with their male characters. That being said, in my opinion, the more nuanced, complex stories and characters are the ones that usually leave a mark that lasts much more than the length of the movie. Not only that, it's important to show masculinity as more than just heroism and bravado, but rather vulnerability, depth, and compassion.
Improvement.
Stoicism. As fun as Disney's archetypes are, there's such an influence on millions of people that Disney has a responsibility to evolve beyond
Very
their
true spirit.
boxed-in
Good said.
heroes.
Well said.
We need more guys like Ashitaka, Haku, and Seita in film and in real life. That being said, I can enjoy both types, and that's why I adore Ghibli and Disney equally. But it's clear the type of male characters that we need way more of in cinema. But that leaves us with an even deeper question that bothers me, and that many of you mentioned in my previous video. Why is it that there are these differences in storytelling? Well, there's a lot of reasons, but a large component comes down to culture. See, culturally, Disney's focus on action and adventure reflects a Western tradition of storytelling. It's about the hero's journey, triumph, and external achievements. In contrast, Ghibli's approach is deeply rooted in Japanese storytelling traditions, which emphasize subtlety, introspection, and the interconnectedness of people and the environment. Instead of focusing on external conflicts, Ghibli often explores internal struggles and moral dilemmas. Ashitaka and Chihiro aren't just trying to win, but to find balance within themselves and the world around them. This reflects Shinto and Buddhist ideas.
I think like an inner struggle for many people is like worse than the outer struggle. Do you know what I mean? Like you can either be your best friend or your worst enemy. So the inner struggle is, I think, even more difficult to come up with a solution for in a positive way than I lost my job, for example. Yeah, then you can. It is a choice. Huh? Yeah. I think like when you lose your job, you can find another one. The solution for that is pretty clear. But if your head is all over the place, an easy solution is not just like, yeah, I will get a new job. There's no easy solution for your mental journey, basically. But a worth journey. Americans believe it's just the fault of one person if someone goes wrong. Yeah, can.
Ideas where life isn't about clear wins, but finding harmony even in ambiguity, which is kind of beautiful, by the way. In storytelling terms, we in the West are usually accustomed to the 3-act structure, which is basically the setup, the confrontation or conflict, and the resolution. The entire story is for the most part based around conflict. But in the East, they have a vastly different storytelling structure called Kishotenketsu. I hope I didn't butcher that. Which is composed of these 4 parts. Ki, the introduction, Sho, the development, Ten, the turn or twist, and Ketsu, the conclusion. Kishotenketsu doesn't rely on conflict. It's about change and growth, which is why Ghibli's calm moments matter so much. It might leave a portion of Western audiences confused and bored sometimes, but they're integral to Ghibli films and a huge factor in their amazing character of development throughout a movie. Ultimately, Disney's male protagonists
I also feel they are very calm, but also you get like a moment of just relax a little bit, which makes them like even more enjoyable for me personally. Isn't that why people put the act of being confident and happy so that people don't truly see your struggle? Yeah, because you're not allowed to show struggle. You have to look confident and happy to give the illusion that you're functioning, basically. But it's okay that you have struggles, and it's okay to ask for help. And this should be nothing to be ashamed of and nothing to be judged about. Might sound ridiculous, but I've learned a lot from the monster movies I've been watching for 15 years now. They absolutely have different themes and styles, even though a movie would just be about kaiju named Godzilla. I mean, yeah. I mean, it's such a long time that I watched Godzilla. But if you like that one, Ryan, you should definitely watch a few Ghibli movies. They're really, really good. They have so much depth. And just like makes you think a little bit. I think I grew up with Ghibli more than Disney. Maybe that's why I'm a bit, I don't know, more on the finding balance and the peace than just having goal after goal after goal after goal, right? Maybe that's why I am the way I am, because Ghibli influenced me so much. Yeah.
Protagonists have evolved a ton, from the one-dimensional princes of the early classics to more relatable, emotionally complex figures like Ian or Ralph. But while Disney continues to primarily rely on archetypes to tell engaging stories, Ghibli's male characters remind us that masculinity in storytelling doesn't have to be larger than life. It can be quiet, thoughtful, and deeply human. And maybe, just maybe, that's something Disney should learn from as they continue to craft their characters in the future.
That was a very, very good video. That was a very, very good video. Wait, he also has a video about Klaus. That one of the best Christmas movies ever. I swear. Very nice video. I subscribe. I will send you the link on Discord later. We probably will watch a few more of him. Very good job. What do you think about the differences between the movies? I think, like, if you grow up or like, if you watch both of them together, like back and forth, you get like this heroism and this adventurous kind of thing that you're still like a child and like going for your thing. But also on the other hand, that you see that calming and human normal behavior is as valid as the other thing. Maybe a balance between both. Like, not just go on full Disney. Just spread around. You just watch, like, go beyond the horizon that you are in. Maybe that is the best point. Like, both have their value and standpoint. And I don't think the one is better than the other, but I do enjoy the characters from Ghibli movies more because you can relate even more than the heroism ones. But that's just me.